I don't know when she stopped seeing me as a man. Maybe the day I stopped fixing the porch light the first time she asked. Or maybe when I forgot her favorite yogurt after a double shift and she stared at me like I was a stranger. Could have been years before that. Back when I still believed that love was something you prove with action, not with words or perfect timing. Truth is, I never really noticed the exact moment, but I damn well remember the first time she said it out loud. In front of our son. With no hesitation. That's not the kind of thing a man forgets. But let me take it back a bit. You gotta understand how we got there. I've been a bricklayer for 24 years. I started when I was 20, still green, still trying to figure out the rhythm of mortar and sunburn. I worked with old guys who smoked through lunch and younger guys who burned out by 30. I stayed steady. Built walls, chimneys, patios, hell. I laid the foundation for half the new homes in this part of town. My back's shot, knees ache when the weather turns, and there's always concrete dust under my nails no matter how long I shower. It's not a glorious life, but it's honest. It's what I knew, what I gave. She used to say she liked my hands. Said they were rough in a good way. Said it made her feel safe. That was when we were still close, before life turned into bills and dishes, and who's picking up who from school. Before the small things became battlegrounds and silence became the default setting. At first, I thought it was just stress. She was tired, I was tired. Work took its toll. She worked part-time at a clinic reception desk. Not demanding work, but emotionally draining, she'd say. People yelling over insurance, last-minute walk-ins, no-shows. She'd come home with that vacant look, and I tried to be gentle. I really did. Cooked dinner when I could, rubbed her back, let her vent. But it never felt like it was enough. Like I was giving to a well with no bottom. Conversations turned sharp. She'd correct me mid-sentence. Roll her eyes when I asked simple questions. If I forgot to take the meat out of the freezer, she acted like I'd sold our car. If I came home late, she didn't ask if I was okay, just didn't think to text. I brushed it off. You get used to the weather when you work outside every day. You learn when a storm's just noise and when it's going to drop hail. At first, I thought we were still in the noise phase. Then came the night with the cereal. It was a regular Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. I got home just before 7. Late enough to miss dinner, early enough to help with homework. I walked into the kitchen, still dusty from the job site, boots heavy with dried clay. She was pacing with her phone to her ear, talking to her sister, I think, or maybe one of her friends from the gym, I don't know anymore. I saw my son sitting at the table with a half-eaten bowl of cereal, swinging his legs, quietly watching cartoons on a tablet. And then she said it. Loud. Clear. Like she was reading a line off a script. I don't even know why I stay. He's useless. I do everything. I froze. Mid-step. Bag still on my shoulder. Sweat still drying on my back. She saw me too. Turned her head and locked eyes with me like I wasn't even human. And here's the part that cracked something in me. She didn't flinch. Didn't hang up. Didn't apologize or backtrack. Just turned her head away and kept talking like I was a wall, not a man. My son looked between us. Confused. A little scared. Like he knew something bad just happened but didn't know what to do with it. I forced a smile. Walked over. Kissed the top of his head. Then I went upstairs, showered, sat in the bedroom for an hour staring at the wall. She didn't come up. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid next to her, inches apart, but miles away. Her breathing was soft and even, too even, probably faking. My chest felt tight, like there was a cinder block where my ribs should be. Not rage, not sorrow, just a weight. A dull realization that something had broken that couldn't be fixed with an apology or flowers or date nights. The next morning, I didn't speak much. I made coffee, packed my lunch. Left early. At work, I laid brick without talking. My crew asked if I was good. I said yeah. What was I gonna say? My wife called me useless in front of my son, and I think I finally believe her. Nah, I kept laying. But something changed that week. I started noticing things I used to excuse. The way she left dishes for me like it was expected. How she'd talk over me when I answered the kids' questions. How she never said thank you anymore. Not when I fixed the loose railing. Not when I did the yard work. Not even when I picked up her dry cleaning. I wasn't bitter. I just logged it. Mentally. Quietly. And I started testing silence. I stopped offering updates. Stopped asking if she wanted anything from the store. Stopped initiating touch. She didn't notice right away. That was the saddest part. One night, I stayed late after work, grabbed a burger alone at that roadside place off Highway 9. Ate it in the truck while the radio played some old country ballad. I sat there chewing slowly, staring at my cracked hands gripping a paper-wrapped cheeseburger like it was an anchor. And it hit me. This was the most peace I'd felt all week. When I got home, she was watching one of her shows. The kind with women yelling over wine glasses. She glanced at me, then back at the screen. Didn't ask where I'd been. Didn't say a word. We were ghosts in the same space. A few days later, I heard her on the phone again. Whispering this time. In the bathroom. Door cracked. She laughed, a kind of soft, unfamiliar laugh I hadn't heard in years. Not for me, anyway. I walked past, paused just long enough to hear the words. I just wish he made me feel something again. She wasn't talking about me. I didn't confront her. Didn't kick the door down. Didn't rage. I just walked to the garage, stood there for 5 minutes, breathing through the ache in my chest, then grabbed my old cooler and started sorting tools. Just to do something with my hands. Later that night, I started a notebook. Just a small one. Black cover. Fits in the glove box. I began writing dates. Times. Not what she said, but how. Not what she did, but what it meant. I wasn't gathering ammo. I was gathering clarity. The notebook became a ritual. Every evening, I jot down something. Didn't say good morning. Left without telling me. Son asked why mom doesn't hug me anymore. Nothing dramatic. Just breadcrumbs. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and didn't care. I stopped adding money to our joint account. Quietly rerouted my pay to a new one in my name. Left just enough to keep the lights on and groceries in the fridge. Not out of spite, out of logic. If I'm useless, then surely she didn't need the cushion I'd built. A week later, her card bounced at the grocery store. She texted me, "Is the account messed up?" I replied, "Shouldn't be. I only pay for what I use." No answer. That weekend she cooked dinner for the first time in months. Spaghetti, salad, garlic bread. Sat across from me with a nervous energy I hadn't seen in years. "How was work?" "Same." She tried to smile. "You look tired lately." "I am." She didn't press. That night, I slept in the guest room. She didn't ask why. After that dinner, something shifted in her. She started moving differently around the house, softer steps, less slamming, more glances over her shoulder. She asked questions again. Simple ones. "How was work? Did you eat? Did you see that funny thing our son did?" At first, I thought maybe she was trying to reconnect. Maybe the weight of silence had finally gotten to her. But it wasn't real. It was performative. Surface level. The kind of check-in you do with a neighbor, not with your husband. Her eyes never matched her tone. Her hands twitched when I didn't respond the way she wanted. I saw through it. She wasn't reaching for me. She was reaching for her comfort. For the old routine. For the man who used to patch the holes before they leaked. But that man had already started leaving. I took on more overtime. Not because I needed the money, though I always did, but because I needed space. At the job site, the world made sense. A wall went up straight, or it didn't. A crack meant something real. Tools didn't lie. Sweat meant something. You could measure your day in bricks and mortar instead of size and unspoken resentment. The guy started noticing I wasn't talking much. I was never a chatterbox, but now I was quieter than usual. One of the younger kids, Kenny, new hire, tried to joke, said I looked like a man going through it. I just nodded. He meant well. He didn't know I'd already started folding my marriage into neat little piles in my head, preparing to put it away. At home, I stopped initiating anything. No hugs. No small talk. No weekend planning. She'd suggest we go to the farmer's market, and I'd say I had work. She'd mention checking out a new movie, and I'd say I was tired. It wasn't cruelty. It was accuracy. I didn't want to pretend. She tried to spark fights a few times, small jabs about how quiet I'd become, how our son was confused, how the house felt like a hotel. I didn't take the bait. I'd just nod, sip my coffee, walk away. Nothing makes someone more uncomfortable than indifference after they've built their identity on being right. One night, I heard her crying in the bathroom. Not sobbing, just a slow, steady leak of emotion. I sat in the hallway, out of sight, listening. She wasn't crying for me. She was crying for the loss of control, for the realization that I was no longer under her emotional thumb. That scared her more than anything. A few days later, I noticed a gift bag on my side of the bed. Small, gray, no note. Inside was a watch, the kind I'd pointed at in a catalog once, years ago. I stared at it for a while, then set it on the dresser without a word. I never wore it. She made lasagna the next night. From scratch. Even bought the fancy cheese she used to complain was overpriced. Our son was excited. Said it smelled like happy. I wanted to cry right then, not because of the meal, but because he still remembered what happiness used to smell like. I ate the lasagna. Said it was good. She smiled like that meant something. But when she reached for my hand across the table, I moved it to adjust my glass. Not fast. Not rude. Just final. Later that night, she knocked on the guest room door. "Can we talk?" I opened it, stood in the doorway. "I'm listening." She blinked. That wasn't what she expected. I feel like I've been trying lately, and you're shutting me out." I didn't answer. I know I've said things. Mean things. Hurtful things. But I was angry, overwhelmed. I didn't mean it. Still, I waited. She took a breath. "I'm scared, Eric." "I know," I said. "You should be." I closed the door gently. Not a slam. Just a soft end. That night, I started listing what I'd take when I left. Just the essentials. Tools. Clothes. My grandfather's old watch. A few photo albums. The rest, the furniture, the houseplants, the framed memories on the walls, all hers. I didn't want anything that smelled like rot. I called my lawyer the next morning, told him to start drafting paperwork. I didn't want drama. I wanted clean lines. He asked if I had a specific date in mind. Our anniversary, I said. Feels appropriate. I didn't tell her. I kept moving like usual. Woke up, made coffee, went to work, came home, played with our son, took out the trash. She tried to make things warm again. Started leaving little notes in my lunch. Have a good day. You're appreciated. Thanks for all you do. I read them, folded them up, placed them in a drawer. I wasn't angry, just done. The week before our anniversary, she started posting again. Pictures of us at a park from 2 years ago. A photo of our hands with wedding bands. A filtered selfie with the caption, "Marriage is hard, but love is worth fighting for." I said nothing. Let her build whatever story she needed for the world. But I kept packing. My son asked if we were going on a trip. "No, buddy," I said. "Just changing where I live for a bit." "Is mom coming?" "No." He didn't cry, just leaned into me and whispered, "Can I still call you?" "Anytime," I said. "Always." She must have known something was coming. Her energy turned frantic. She cleaned everything, washed curtains, reorganized the pantry, bought a new welcome mat. Like maybe if the house looked new again, the marriage would follow. She even tried to initiate intimacy. One night, she came into the guest room in just a t-shirt, laid beside me, eyes glossy, lips trembling. "I miss you," she whispered. I turned to her, saw the girl I used to love hiding behind the mask of the woman who dismantled me. "I miss who you used to be," I said, "not who you became when you thought I wasn't watching." She reached for my hand. I let her touch it, then slowly pulled away. "I'm leaving Sunday." Tears welled in her eyes. Not dramatic, not fake, just defeated. "You already left," she whispered. I nodded. "This is just the part where I stopped pretending I didn't." She tried to pretend it wasn't happening. That week before the anniversary, she moved like a woman trying to resuscitate a body already declared dead. She made pancakes on a Wednesday, lit candles during dinner on a Thursday, left a note on my pillow Friday night that said, "I'm still here, if you were too." I didn't write back. I kept to the guest room. The door never locked, but she stopped knocking, stopped trying to crawl in beside me. Maybe she thought if she waited long enough, I'd fold. Maybe she thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. Each night, I went over my list, not just of what to pack, but of what I'd been holding on to. Old expectations, versions of her that didn't exist anymore, hope that had long expired. I realized I was more attached to the sound of my son's laugh than to anything she ever said to me in the last 3 years. Saturday morning, I fixed the garage door she'd asked about months ago. Not because she asked again, because it needed to be done. I knew I was leaving, but I couldn't stomach the idea of her slamming it off the hinges in frustration. I wasn't angry. I was just tired of being her enemy in a war I never declared. After lunch, I took our son to the park. Just us. No announcement. No invitation. He lit up like it was Christmas. We sat on the swings for a long time. He told me he liked it when it was just us. I nodded, ruffled his hair. He didn't ask why I looked sad. He just leaned against me like that was his answer. "Are you mad at mom?" he asked finally. I shook my head. "No, buddy. Just different now." "Different like? New clothes?" I laughed once. "Kind of. Like shoes that don't fit anymore. You don't hate them. You just outgrow them." He nodded like he understood. Maybe he did. Kids always understand before we give them credit. When we got home, she was on the porch, pretending to read, but really just watching the driveway. Her eyes met mine. She didn't say anything. I didn't either. I sent our son inside with his toy, then walked past her without a word. She didn't follow. That night, I packed the last of it. Tool belt, work boots, the little box of keepsakes she never knew I had, movie tickets, a photo strip from a booth on our third date, the receipt from the diner where we'd talked about names for our future kid. I kept them not because they still mattered, but because they reminded me that once, something had. I left the new watch she gave me on the dresser, unworn, untouched. I heard her crying again that night. In the bedroom. Not loud. Just broken little sobs, like she was trying not to be heard. I didn't go in. I stared at the ceiling in the guest room and counted the seconds between each one. They were close together, like her pain was finally catching up to her pride. In the morning, she made breakfast. Full spread, eggs, bacon, toast, juice, even pancakes in the shape of hearts. Our son was thrilled. He kept saying how this felt, like the good old days, and I had to bite the inside of my cheek not to break in front of him. She set a plate in front of me, sat across the table. Her eyes were bloodshot, but she'd put on makeup, just enough to look put together. "Happy anniversary," she said. I nodded. I thought maybe we could just have a nice day. For him. I glanced at our son, who was focused on syrup. "Sure," I said. So we did. We went to the mall, walked through stores without buying anything, She tried on sunglasses. I helped our son build a Lego tower at a kiosk. We had lunch at the food court. Chicken nuggets and fries. The kind of meal that feels like nothing when you're young, but becomes a memory when you're older. She reached for my hand once, lightly, while walking. I didn't pull away. I didn't grip back either. When we got home, our son went to his room. I could hear him humming. Happy. Safe. That was all I wanted. She stood in the kitchen, fidgeting with the edge of a dish towel. The sun was setting. The room filled with that kind of gold light that makes everything look softer, even things that are too far gone to save. I know you're leaving, she said finally. I didn't respond. I knew the second you said nothing when I gave you that watch. Still, I said nothing. I kept thinking if I just tried harder, you'd come back. That I could fix it. I turned to her then. You can't fix something you broke on purpose. She blinked hard. I was angry. You were cruel. I was scared. You were selfish. Silence. She folded the towel tighter in her hands. You're not going to fight for us? I already did, I said. You just never showed up. She swallowed. What do I tell him? That dad still loves him more than anything. And always will. And me. I looked at her. Really looked. At the cracks. At the regret. At the woman who once laughed with me in the dark and danced in the kitchen barefoot. At the stranger who replaced her. You said I was useless, I said quietly. Now you'll see how useful I really was. Her lips parted. But nothing came out. I walked to the guest room. Picked up my bags. Walked down the hall. Our son met me at the door. I knelt down. I love you, kiddo. I love you too, Dad. You call me anytime, okay? Doesn't matter when. He nodded, hugged me tight. I stood up. She was leaning against the wall now, watching, arms crossed like they were holding her together. I didn't say goodbye. Not to her. I opened the door. Stepped into the fading evening. The air smelled like fall. Crisp. Honest. The kind of air that makes you want to start over. I didn't look back. Because I was done holding things that didn't hold me back. The first night alone felt like waking up from a noise you didn't realize you'd been hearing for years. Not a bang. Not a scream. Just the soft hiss of tension that had lived in the corners of every room I walked through. Without it, the silence was so clean it hurt my ears. I stayed in a small apartment above a barber shop. Nothing fancy. One bedroom, old carpet, a kitchen with cabinets that creaked when you opened them. But it was mine. No one filled the sink and walked away. No one criticized the way I folded towels. No one sighed when I came home like I was the reason joy had died in the house. I made coffee in the mornings, black and bitter. Sat by the window with a pen and the same notebook I'd used to track the unraveling. Only now, I wrote different things. A grocery list. How many bricks we laid the day before. What my son said on the phone when I called him before bed. He was adjusting. Kids do. Better than adults. When I saw him on weekends, we didn't talk about the split. We talked about football. Spiders. Dinosaurs. Once, he said, it's quiet at your place. I asked if that was a good thing. He nodded. Yeah. Mom cries a lot. I like it better when people don't cry. I didn't respond. Just hugged him a little tighter and said we'd get pizza. A month passed before she texted. Can we talk? I stared at the message. Let it sit there. Read it 3 times. Then locked my phone and went to bed. The next day she called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Said she was sorry for everything. That she'd been thinking about what she did. That she wanted to understand if there's any way back. There wasn't. Not because of pride. Because she wasn't trying to repair. She was trying to rewind. To undo the reality she'd spent years building with her own hands. I didn't delete the voicemail. I didn't respond either. She messaged again a week later. Just a photo of our son playing in the yard. Caption, he misses you. I sent a thumbs up. Nothing more. Sometimes she'd send late-night texts. Quotes from books. I finally see it now. You were always steady. I just wanted fire. Once she wrote, I wish I had listened before I screamed. I read them all. Replied to none. Because here's what no one tells you, silence isn't absence. It's protection. It's distance made holy. I still worked. Still laid brick 5 days a week, sometimes 6. Woke up sore. Went to sleep early. Bought new boots. Cooked my own meals. Started keeping herbs on the windowsill, basil, thyme, rosemary. Didn't know why. Just liked the smell. I still saw her. Around town. At the grocery store. Dropping off our son at school. She'd look at me like she wanted to say something. I'd nod politely. Nothing more. She looked older. Not in a cruel way. Just tired. That kind of tired you get when the consequences of your choices come home to stay. She never brought up the anniversary. Or the words she'd said in the kitchen that day. But I knew she remembered. You don't forget the moment you put a hole in someone's chest and watch them bleed in silence. People asked what happened. Friends. Family. Neighbors. I just said, things changed. Most didn't push. Some did. Was there someone else? Not at first, I'd say. Eventually, maybe. But the real someone else was who she became. They'd nod like that made sense. Sometimes it didn't. But it was true. A few months in, I got a letter. Handwritten. From her. 6 pages. Front and back. Apologies. Explanations. A timeline of her feelings. All the ways she felt unseen, unsupported, unfulfilled. The usual phrases. I didn't know how to ask. I thought you'd always be there. You didn't deserve what I said. I folded the letter once. Put it in a drawer. Never responded. She stopped writing after that. I saw her one last time, maybe 6 months later. Our son had a school recital. He was playing a triangle in the back row, but he took it seriously like he was first chair violin at Carnegie Hall. She sat 2 rows ahead of me. I watched her clap a beat too long. Saw her glance back once. Our eyes met. She smiled. Small. Wistful. I didn't smile back. After the recital, our son ran to me first. Hugged me like he hadn't seen me in years, even though it had only been days. She walked up, asked if I wanted to grab dinner with him. I looked at our son. You want burgers? He nodded hard. All right. Let's go. Just us. She opened her mouth, then stopped. Looked at him, then me. I'll take him after, I said. She nodded. Quiet. Stepped back. That was the last time she tried. Now, I'll live a quieter life. Simple. Not lonely. Just full of air that doesn't ache. I sleep without flinching. I eat what I like. I read in peace. And when I think of her now, it's not with hate or longing. It's with distance. Like an old injury that aches when it rains but never bleeds again. People ask if I've moved on. If I'll date again. If I'll open my heart. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't need to fill the space she left. I just need to keep it clean. Keep it mine. Keep it quiet. Because she said I was useless. And when I left, everything stopped working.